Harris here with this next show of Unfair Advantage TV, where we equip you, teach you, coach you, show you how to not only unleash breakthrough and solve unsolvable problems, but actually go into the throne room for your business revelations. And today, that's exactly what we're going to focus on. Based upon our model at Dynatos Global, our spirit-led strategic consultancy, you can come visit us at dynatos.global to learn all about the ways individually, in groups, and across media and so many other formats that we help you, help people in business, Christians in business. Tune in the Holy Spirit channel, how Holy Spirit wants to speak to you to help you make your next breakthrough. And in fact, that's today's show. We're going to take this show and actually the next show. We're going to have like a two-part mini series, if you will, that's collectively how you can unleash your business breakthrough and what differentiates you as a believer in business from all your competition. And that is really your unfair competitive advantage, which is what this entire series and show is all about. So let's go into today's session. I hope you're going to take some notes. Please get a pen and pencil because you want to make some notes on the revelations that we're going to share with you that we've learned over the last many years at Dynatos Global. How to unleash your business breakthrough. So first, what does unleash mean? The definition of unleash is simply this: to set forth forcefully. Get that? Forcefully, not a little step at a time, forcefully. So if you want to unleash forcefully a breakthrough, how is breakthrough defined? It's important to consider and meditate on these definitions. Get this: breakthrough. Dictionary definition: an offensive military assault. Did you hear that? Offensive, not defensive, offensive military assault that penetrates and carries beyond a defensive line. I want to say that again. A breakthrough, this is the dictionary definition: an offensive military assault that penetrates and carries beyond a defensive line. Another definition of breakthrough is a sudden advance, especially in knowledge or technique. Now, that's exactly what we do in the kingdom. We have sudden advances, breaking through the defensive line the enemy, Satan, has put up that's holding us back from our breakthrough. So how do we get there? What do we do? How do we unleash our breakthrough? Well, here's the kingdom approach versus man's approach. Here's the Dynatos approach versus man's approach. Man's approach to solving problems and unleashing breakthrough is, you've heard it so many times, it's a variation of define a problem, brainstorm, alternatives, find causes, create solutions, blah, blah, blah. 1,000 variations of it. But based upon a real life case study, 2,500 years old, this is how we at Dynatos coach our clients and advise our one-on-one and group folks how to get through and unleash their next breakthrough. It's 3 phases. Phase 1 of a kingdom breakthrough, unleashing kingdom breakthrough, is a strategic or situational analysis. This is not much different than what you typically see in private business, but there is a twist to this. Let me give you an example of the model that we use. It's Nehemiah and what Nehemiah did to rebuild the walls in Nehemiah, particularly chapter 1 and 2, is the basis, the foundation of our model. I'm going to read to you Nehemiah chapter 1, verses 1 through 3, and what the first phase that Nehemiah used was a situational strategic analysis. Here's what Nehemiah wrote. The words of Nehemiah, the son of Hakaliah: it came to pass in the month of Chislev, in the 20th year, as I was in Shushan the citadel, that Hananiah, one of my brethren, came back from Judah, from Jerusalem. And I asked him concerning the Jews who had escaped, who had survived the captivity, how's things going in Jerusalem? And he said to me, the survivors who are left, here we go, the situational analysis. From the captivity, they're in great distress and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down, and its gates are burned with fire. Think of what Nehemiah learned in just those couple of sentences from his brother who was there in the city. Economic ruin. People are unsafe. There's no protection. They're still operating as slaves. There's no economic activity. Nothing is going on. They have no hope. They're in great distress. That was a really tough situation for Nehemiah to hear. So what did Nehemiah do? Well, through that, he got a sense of what was going on with the heart and vision and strategic objectives. The very first part of what we do at Dynatos, and what you should do too in your situational analysis, is this. You should conduct a strategic environmental check. We call it environments. There's 4 environments that you need to operate in terms of your analysis of your business situation. If you're looking for a breakthrough, your situational analysis has 4 environments you need to be aware of. And Nehemiah walked through each of these. First, it's your strategic environment. What's your vision? What's your mission? What's your strategic objectives? God had a vision. God had a mission. He gave through Moses and the prophets. The strategic vision, the strategic objectives were in ruin. So there was a huge issue. The people did not remember and could not get to that vision that they knew that was in front of them. Secondly, the second kind of environment that we suggest that you analyze strategically in your situational analysis is the operational environment. Your strategic, your vision, your mission, your plans, your strategies. Then your operation. What's happening in the operation? How are things going? What are your processes and your systems? Generally, how are things getting done? And you could tell in this operational environment, nothing was getting done. There was absolutely no progress in Jerusalem at that time. So not only the strategic environment, but the operational environment was a complete ruin. The third area of the 4 environments we suggest you undertake and do an analysis on in your specific business area, looking for a breakthrough. You go from the strategic to the operational, then the traditional financial environment. Okay, here's what you say you're going to do. Here's where you say you're going to go. Here's what's actually happening in the environment. What are the financial results? What are the roadblocks? What are the profits? What are the revenues or lack thereof? What's the overhead, the lost opportunity costs? We have a tremendous number of experts at Dynatos Global that do tremendous work, deep and wide, kingdom focused, led by Holy Spirit analysis of your financials, even to the point of where some are specially equipped, anointed of God, to look in larger businesses. Their expertise is fraud, people stealing money, looking at how the enemy's trying to take away what is rightfully the company's. So we suggest that the third thing you do in the environment, in your situational strategic analysis, is a financial overview. But the fourth environment is what separates us. Excuse me. The fourth environment in your situational analysis is what differentiates you from the non-believer, and that is a spiritual environment assessment. Look at your spiritual environment. What do I mean by that? Your spiritual environment. Have you ever walked into a retail operation or to a store and you just said, man, I just sense something's not right in this. I just have a sense. In the United States and in North America, Halloween, unfortunately, is a big celebration. And of course, that's a time of the witches and all the evil folks go about celebrating their anniversary. Excuse me. Around Halloween, for me, it's easy to catch the environment of an operation, of an environment of a store, the environment of the street. You can just feel the demonic. You can sense that the pushback against what is good and what is right. You have that discernment. We're going to talk about that more in the next show, about discernment. You have that discernment. So, and when you do your situational analysis, it's a long way to say your first of the 3 phases, your situational analysis. Really, the key element is your spiritual assessment. What's going on there? How do I sense? What's moving behind the scenes? What can I not see, but what I sense is going on in this environment? That might be the biggest clues of where you need to take your battle into phase two, before we're going to get to right now, of phase two of what Nehemiah did. Your spiritual environment is critical to your success of unleashing your breakthrough. That's phase one, the situational analysis. What's phase two? Strategic intercession. Phase two is strategic intercession. This is what really differentiates us from all non-believers, from those that, even the believers that don't really go into the throne room for intercession. What did Nehemiah do after he heard the sad story of what was happening back in Jerusalem? Here's what he did. Nehemiah 1, verse 4 and verse 11, still in chapter 1. So it was when I heard these things that I sat down and wept and mourned for many days. I was fasting and praying before the God of heaven. O Lord, I pray, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant. He's repenting. And to the prayer of your servants who desire to fear your name, and let your servant prosper this day. Bring me what I need. Bring me the revelation. Bring me what I can do as a slave, as a cupbearer for the king, as someone who walked in front of the king and could have his head cut off if he looked sad. Nehemiah had no money, no property, really no position power, but he did have favor with the king, and he knew how to go into the throne room for revelation. So your strategic intercession is what separates you and to unleash your breakthrough that other folks don't have. Now, what might that look like? Well, let me tell you what the definition of strategic, and why I use the word strategic. The Lord said, teach strategic intercession, not just prayer. Prayers, checklists, prayers, help me, Lord. Strategic is being very tactical about what you want me to do. And here's the definitions of strategic. We're going to expand an entire show just on this. The next show is going to be on strategic intercession. I'm going to give you a taste today in our three-phase model of how to unleash breakthrough. But phase two is really what you're going to be focusing on, probably more than any of the other two phases. Strategic is defined as this. Listen to this. Necessary or important in the initiation or conduct of a strategic plan. It's critically important. The second definition of strategic out of the dictionary really hits home for us of faith. Required for the conduct of war, and not available in adequate quantities domestically. The third definition of strategic is designed or trained to strike an enemy at its sources. Hear this. Of its military, economic, and political power. I'm going to read those last two again and tie it back to what we said earlier. Strategic, required for the conduct of war and not available in adequate quantities domestically. People don't do it out there. And yet it's designed or trained to strike an enemy at the source of its military, economic, and political power. Satan still has that on this earth. And remember what we said earlier, what a breakthrough is? A strategic breakthrough? A breakthrough is an offensive military assault. It's an offensive military assault that penetrates beyond a defensive line. And strategic is defined as this is designed or trained to strike an enemy. Are you getting a sense why we need to be strategic in our intercession and not just say, oh, Lord, help us, No, we need to go at it just like a general, because we are kings on this earth. So I want to exhort you and encourage you, be bold when you're looking for your breakthrough. Be bold when you're searching for what that next multiple steps might be. Based upon our unfair advantage, that's the starting point. Tune into how Holy Spirit is speaking to you. That's our leverage point to jump into strategic throne room revelation. You're going to be hearing a lot more about that in the coming months and years. But I wanted to really plant a seed of how critical it is in your breakthrough to jump into strategic intercession. We're going to teach you more of that, particularly on the next show and beyond. So that's what Nehemiah did. Oh, and by the way, if you do a study on Nehemiah 1 and 2, which I encourage you to do. I asked myself, well, how long was he in intercession? How long did he go into the throne room through fasting and praying and interceding before he got the answer to present to the king? Most of you know in Daniel, there was a 21-day period where he was asking the Lord, what is the answer to this vision? What is the answer to this dream? The king will kill us if we don't come back with a proper interpretation. And you remember the story, Michael said, we've been battling 21 days to get that answer to you. 21 days, a month. The battle was in the second heavens. The answer was immediate. It was already there, but the angels had to deliver it to Daniel, and it took 21 days to battle through Satan trying to stop him from getting that answer. Because then Nehemiah, then the king there, as you know, did so much for the kingdom. Nehemiah, how long did he go into intercession? You do a study, 4 months. His strategic intercession was 4 months before he had a chance to present the plan to the king. My exhortation to you, don't get discouraged if you don't have the answer today or tomorrow or next week. The answer already exists in heaven. And that's what we do at Dynatos. A lot of what we do is help coach and teach and advise, walk along with you in individual one-on-one advising, and entire team advising with other business leaders, or for larger consulting contracts, we have an entire team and we will walk with you. We don't have your answers. God has the answers he wants to give to you through strategic intercession. And we coach, we're your Sherpas walking up your strategic intercession mountain so you can receive the revelation. But be patient. It may take more than a day or a week or a month. In Nehemiah's case, it was 4 months. So strategic intercession is the second of the 3 phases. Remember, we're talking about the 3 phases to unleash your kingdom breakthrough. The first phase was a situational analysis with 4 environments: situational, operational, financial, and spiritual. Once you've conducted that, then you step into the most important part for us, men and women of faith, the strategic intercession. And we've given you an overview, just very, very quick, of what that's like. More to come, more to come, more to come. Now, phase 3, the third phase then of to unleash your breakthrough from the Nehemiah model. This is our Dynatos global model. Third phase is now strategic activation. First, situational strategic analysis. Second, strategic intercession. Third, strategic activation. I believe you understand now what all needs to be so strategic and not just general. Here's what Nehemiah wrote about his activation, his phase 3, as we call it, activation. This is in Nehemiah 2, verses 4 and 5. Most of the rest of chapter 1 of Nehemiah was Nehemiah simply going into the throne room. What can I do? What can I do? What do you want me to do? Nehemiah 2, verses 4 and 5, strategic activation. Then the king said to me, what do you request, Nehemiah? And I said to the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, I ask that you send me to Judah, to the city of my father's tomb, that I may rebuild it. That's the vision. That's the strategic vision. Remember, strategic, the strategy, the strategic environment, right? We talked about that. That's the first thing. Here's my vision. Here's my plan. Well, then guess what Nehemiah then answered the king with? The king said, well, okay, what do you need? Then he went into the operations and the financial. He said, I'm going to need timber. I'm going to need letters. I'm going to need processes. Do you see how he went from strategic to operational to financial? I'm going to need all of these things to live out this vision. He had favor with the king. God put favor on the king to let Nehemiah do what he needed to do to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Now remember, Ezra had already rebuilt the temple, but the walls, the protection of the city was down. This was Nehemiah's assignment, to actually come along with Ezra and rebuild the walls, because that not only protected the temple, but it also protected the men and women. That was their commerce. That was their family safety. That was everything that was their city. That was their military establishments, if you will, from the enemies, from the human enemies coming to try to take them out, was that physical wall. It was critical for the Jews at that time to have that wall. And even though Nehemiah was a slave, he had no property, he had no freedom, he really basically worked in favor, in excellence. We're going to come back and have future shows on why you must and what it means to work in excellence in the kingdom and the favor that brings when you actually do all that you do in excellence. But yet, God gave him everything he needed, his strategic and operational, financial and tactical plans, his resources, the time he needed, the alliance partners that he would need. We'll need lumber from here. We'll need timber from there. We'll need all the things. He's got stonemasons. We're going to need community and regional proclamations. Here's the launch sequence that once I get there, this is what I'm going to do. This is how long it's going to take. And he knew he'd already been given the leadership assignments. He knew that was going to be necessary to make this activated. All of that and more came through his strategic intercession. And at the divine moment, at the divine time, when the king said, "What do you need?" the favor was there. Nehemiah had everything he needed, and he went and activated the breakthrough. Now, I want to give a snapshot of how impressive that wall is. I don't want us to miss this. Oh, yeah, so he rebuilt the wall. Have you ever done a study on the wall? On really what Nehemiah did in only 52 days as the leader? Less than 2 months? Less than 2 months. Listen to the dimensions of what he did and what he led the Jews to rebuild in 52 days. Reflect on this. Records tell us that the walls of Jerusalem were totaled, the square totaled 2.5 miles long. Think of a wall 2.5 miles long. Think of a big square rectangle, 2.5 miles in diameter. That's a big wall, but now add this to it. The wall, this 2.5 mile wall, was 40 feet tall. That's typically twice as tall as a one-story house. 2.5 miles, 40 feet tall. But here's, to me, the even most unbelievable thing. That wall was 8 feet thick. So not only was it 2.5 miles long and 40 feet high, but it was 8 feet thick. That's as wide as some rooms in our house, in our apartments, are they not? That is one massive, massive wall. Now think of the assignment. It was in ruin. The gates were burned. Everything was down. And yet Nehemiah came, walked around for 3 days. Then he said, "We're going to rebuild the wall." And these men with hand tools and horses and donkeys, no big earth-moving equipment. It was all human and perhaps then horse and maybe some ox labor pulling these things, perhaps. In less than 2 months, they rebuilt the protection of a city that was 2.5 miles long, 40 feet high, and 8 feet thick. Nehemiah is the model we use at Dynatos Global to help companies and help individuals unleash breakthrough and solve their unsolvable problems. And in fact, the way we like to phrase it is to help you uncover and activate divine solutions for your business. This was a divine solution. God had the solution. He knew what he wanted to do for the walls. Nehemiah accepted the assignment. And through his situational analysis, through his strategic intercession, and finally through his strategic activation, he did what now even today would be literally impossible for us to even consider, of men and women using hand tools to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. May this be an exhortation for you, a real-life case study from Nehemiah on how you can apply this in your own business, whether you have a solo enterprise or whether you have 10,000 employees. This is a prophetic business model right in Nehemiah chapter 1 and 2. that you can integrate into your life to help you unleash your next business breakthrough. I want to pray a prayer over you right now. I sense some of you may have seen for the first time a new, fresh way to go about a kingdom-focused, God-enriched, heaven to earth, your kingdom come, your will be done to earth. That's available to us as believers because we have the Spirit of God. We have Holy Spirit, His Spirit living inside of us that will teach us all things and even tell us things to come. He knows everything about everything, past, present, and future. And Holy Spirit has the answers that you need from the throne room to bring to you so that you can, for your business, that's, I pray, consecrated and dedicated to the glory of Jesus, to bring Him glory. He has these answers for your business waiting for you if you follow Nehemiah's model. Strategic analysis, situational analysis, particularly the spiritual environment. Strategic intercession, more to come on that even in the next show. And then strategic activation and what's available, what you can do, what's available to you when you take that vision, when you engage your team, and then when you execute the plan, which is what you do in activation. Let me pray this over you, that this is going to help you unleash your business breakthrough that you need now. Father, from this revelation you've given me, from this revelation that you keep pouring out more and more and more, that Nehemiah is a beautiful, magnificent 2,500-year-old case study model we can use today and forever on how you desire us as we lead massive or even small business enterprises to come to your throne room to unleash real kingdom breakthrough, solve what seems to be humanly impossible problems, because Father, with you, and the word dynatos, as these great followers know, because with you, all things are dynatos. All things are possible in our business. May this be a fresh revelation and activation for these saints. Move through them and help them today unleash their next business breakthrough. Friends, may this have been an exciting show for you. It was exciting for me to just hear it again. The next show, Strategic Intercession. You don't want to miss it. We'll go deep into how you can have powerful strategic intercession over your business. God bless. We'll see you next time on Unfair Advantage TV. Thanks for joining.